Okay, so I started my project 2 months ago and I'm working there. And then what do I do then? Because there's a mistake that happens quite often here that, and a lot of project manager, even planners, they do that. They create the timeline, they say a baseline, they say, okay, then I'm going to execution. And no one ever update these. They open the timeline to check it, but you no one ever update these. Then if you do not update, there's no value in having this file, or almost no value, because then you at least you have some way to track it. But what's the proper way? What's the best practice? Well, if you want to keep this going, let me hide this column because I'm not going to hide it. I mentioned to you that you should keep it. Let me keep it here, but I insert a column here, percentage of complete, because then I can update the tests that are done or not. And what I like to do, I always status. I always add the status task here. Why? Because it makes very easy to see what should be done and what should be not. Then if I'm updating a timeline, the first thing I'm going to check is what should be done. Say the contract was signed. Yes. Then I mark this 100%. Then I mark as completed. The mock-up. Let's assume mock-up. It took 5 days. It was on time. The review with the customer, instead of 5 days, it took 6 days. And then it was done, approved. Then I put here 100%. Then the mock-up to implement the feedback. It took more time. Someone got sick or whatever. It took 10 days. Then I do that. And the final customer approved it was on time. Then I'm going to do this task by task, right? Until we get to a task that it's about to the point that we see it. Let me see artwork. Then was done on time. I just complete 100%. What's important here is to understand you don't need to know the end date for task by task. You don't need to go, for example, for your engineer, hey, did you should design that date? No, that doesn't make sense. What's important to know, because if you delay those tasks in 1 or 2 days, it does not matter. It's not the critical path. You need to know the start and end date for the task for the critical path. That's critical when you update this. So let me mark this on track. Then you see, okay, how my are then structure design, my foundation design. Then let me see, it was the issued here. Then you see it's review. The review should be available today. But what happened when I'm updating this? I say, okay, the review should be available today, but there was something there. And the designer, they told me that it's going to take another week. Then I'm putting here 10 days. And I mark here, okay, mark on track, saying that's it shows on schedule because I have a new date here. Then I know that should only end next week, which is very important because then you have a reference for tracking what you are doing there. But I also can see here, if you see the baseline that was saved, you see already a lot of variation, but so far nothing impacting the critical path. And by the way, it's very normal that you're going to find this kind of stuff there because it's the reality of all the projects. Sometimes it's faster, sometimes it's shorter, sometimes it will be delayed. It does not matter if you say, this task was delayed. That does not matter. That does not affect the project. Like, don't make a big deal with that with your team. Make sure that you follow these then properly. Then let's go see here. This will be a future test, and there's nothing for me to do there. And let's go design. I'm going to mark as 100%. Like, do not care for this example. But then I get to a task in the critical path. Then I need to look very closely here. Look for land. Let's assume that look for land took 25 days to get completed. Then I know that we find the land that we want, mark on track, and I know if we delay the critical path that you see here, you already can see in the top that there's an effect here in the end date of the project. How do I know? You can see based on the last task of the project here. You can see it's ending after or it should, or if you make, depending how you're going to control it, like if you're going to create an S-curve or not, you can just insert a column, put baseline start, and you also can put here, insert a column, baseline, and what it's finished, sorry. What does it mean? Well, it means that whatever you save, there's a baseline as start date and end date. You can see here in the timeline that if you want. So you see that the house should be ready on 20th of December. Right now it's 27th of December. Then you have here something that you can do, for example, which I did not do, but usually it's very good practice if you do that once before saving a baseline. Something that you can do here, you can change work time. What is changing work time? It's using an extender calendar. I can add all the holidays that I want here. For example, Christmas, it's a holiday. Then holidays. Let's assume that, well, not assume that, because usually that's what's happened. This is holiday season, right? Then from create that week, most of people not work. Then let me put here during this week people will not work. Well, in my baseline that was not relevant, because why? Because my task was being completed on 20th of December, but now it goes for 4th of January. Why? Because the program is already considering that during this week, no one's going to work, which usually happens in practice. So it's very good that you add this in your timeline. Then you already get a date, because I also help you to manage the expectations. Then you find here another issue during the land negotiation. And let's say that someone was giving you a hard time there, and you put, it took 40 days. And you already not 40 days is too much. Let me put 35 or 32 to see. Yeah, let's see that it's about to finish here today, or let's put here even today, 31. Then it finished today. Now this is done, mark as complete. Then I move to the next one. This is a future task. Why? Because it should start tomorrow to sign the contract, but gives you a very interesting view. For example, then if I would continue to update, I say, hey, I have a late task here. What's going on here? Then it also helps you to understand with your team what's going on, what's left behind. Then you can understand, is it critical right now? No, it's not. This is not part of the critical task, critical path. Then if it takes 40 days to buy this material, does not matter for you. Just make sure that you do not complete. You can mark on track if it's ongoing. Otherwise, you put a new start date. But that helps you to understand what's going on. That's what's the purpose of the tool here. So those columns here, percentage to complete and status, they are very critical to make sure that you properly can manage these. And of course, this is so the basic that everyone should know.